So, welcome to another piano thing. This video is inspired by the YouTube pianist. He's a concert pianist called Greg Niemczuk, who talks about the Chopin's great Opus 55 number 2 E flat major nocturne, and how that is like opera, like a piece of opera music, like an aria, two voices. And all the videos he does are really really good, really interesting, and they're really excellent. Okay, so but I want to talk about Schubert's piano piece, one of Schubert's piano pieces anyway, which also because this Greg Niemczuk talks about how he thinks that it's Chopin's, or he says how Chopin was thinking about opera and how he would have, I get the impression that he's saying that he would have liked, he thinks that Chopin, if he were to have written an opera, this is how he would have written it. That made me think of how, for me, Schubert, although he did write some operas in his lifetime, and some overtures to operas, they weren't very successful, and so compared to Rossini or Beethoven's one opera, but one great opera, and considering how important opera was if you wanted to progress your career in music, it's obvious, and considering how great Schubert was with songs, I think that the pieces he's written for piano and also for string quartet, which have taken themes or melodies from his opera attempts, or from his, his operas, which weren't really great successes. I don't think any of them were successes. I think he did 2 operas or so, or maybe I'm mistaken. But they weren't successes. But if we take the string quartet in A minor, the Rosamunde theme is in that quartet, and that Rosamunde theme was from an opera, which, if I'm not mistaken, it was the entr'acte of a play called Rosamunde, I think. So he was writing the occasional music for some other people's operas, things, and so he did it for string quartet, and he did it in his Opus 142 set, in number 2, I think it is, the second one. And so that speaks to me of his longing to have succeeded in opera, and how he knew he had a lovely melody, so he put it in a string quartet and the Opus 142 number 2, I think, piano piece. Here's another piece which is also from his opera work, and it's the second impromptu. So just being inspired by this Greg Niemczuk, I think his name is, on YouTube. He's a Polish concert pianist who has some brilliant insights into the Chopin nocturnes. Inspired by that, because he's talking about the Opus 55 number 2 and how that's like an opera. As I said, it's one of my favourite nocturnes. I wanted to talk about this second Klavierstück, Opus 946 of Schubert. This was also supposed to be an opera thing. So therefore, agreeing with Greg Niemczuk, I think it must be played with a special adding a special importance to it. It comes 3 times. I think it comes 3 times. Yeah. In this piece, it's my favourite Schubert piece, I think, for piano, and it's because for me it characterises all that Schubert is: the opera, the songwriter, the opera writer, the vocal writer for this main melody, the main melody, which happens 3 times, but it actually happens 4 times, which I'll explain. But this piece also focuses on his on his sort of on his, if you like, on his passionate side, and in a sort of darker way at the beginning, the first episode, and also his the lyrical part, sort of side to his nature as a musician in the second episode, and then thirdly to his, as I've already spoken about this in another video, also speaks of his sort of triumphalism, but in a good sense, that he has in this in the third episode, which is also apparent in the Death and the Maiden Quartet finale, and also the Great G Major Quartet finale. Both finales have this sort of dun da 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 dum da 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 da, but it's sort of ceremonial aspect. It's not triumphalism, sorry, a triumphant ceremonialism, if I can put it that way. That's also in this wonderful piece. But I want to concentrate, and I've talked about that in a previous video. This video I want to talk about that main melody, because I've been inspired by this Greg Nemchuk video on the Opus 55 number 2 of Chopin, and how it speaks of his longing to have done opera in a way, love for opera. This for me is what this first melody does, and he does it twice at the beginning, and then it happens another 2 times. Yeah. It ends this way as well, but it ends with just one of these bars, but it happens twice at the beginning. So the second time obviously has to be softer and even more heartfelt. But just look how beautiful this piece is, this melody. I just want to do it, and I'll do it softer the second time. I think that's the main point I want to make, that it needs to be treated with special sort of, if I can say, not reverence, but the special importance, especially thinking about his the way he didn't succeed at opera, but how he obviously was the greatest songwriter of all composers, and how in a way it's a great regret, that it's a great shame that he hasn't produced opera successfully, and I think he felt that, and this is his longing for it. So it's got to be played with its special tenderness, especially the second time round, and with special feeling and importance. So here we go. It's this here. It's a beautiful one to play. It's in E flat major. No coincidence, that's also the key of this Opus 55 number 2 of Chopin. And I believe it's the key that Schumann said was the key of love, I think he said. Schumann wrote pieces like, well, he wrote various pieces in E flat major, of course. And now softer. Soft pedal on. You take your time with this. Sorry. Now really opening up. at the end it does it 4 times with 4 of those chords instead of the 2 which end it for the other 2 times. So I mucked up that actually, but I think I wanted to say, I think that it needs to be not just passed over, but it's between these great moments like all these lovely moments, and the third ceremonial one. Let me do it again. It contains all of Schubert, and in such a vivid way, those 3 parts that I just played the beginning of, or tried to, mucked up of course, but because they're so great and so arresting, it's easy to just go back to this one in a prosaic way, saying, yeah, I know it's beautiful, let's just get it over the beautiful section. You know, we've already had it so many times, so I think each time it needs to be really looked at closely and played slowly and with effective what's it called? Ritando, I think it's called. Well, slowing down is what I mean at various parts, and with emotion. Con moto, I think it is. So yeah, that's my little homage to the videos of Greg Niemczuk. Thank you very much, and yeah, he has got some great videos on Chopin and other composers on